I kind of
Yes.
want to talk about crafting, which oddly sort of relates to NBJ Summit, actually.
Oh, great. Let's hear the segue.
So what is that thing called where decoupage?
Yeah.
Decoupage. So we're doing something at the summit this year that's totally new. We're not going to decoupage.
I was going to say that's really
It was
adventurous.
on the table. So the last day of the summit, we have something called the Executive Wellness Experience. And it's all about helping the CEOs there, the leaders there, nurture themselves. So we'll have biohacking modalities and wellness treatments and all these different things happening. And one of the things we want to do is have some sort of art experience. And so we talked about decoupage, actually, and then we ended up not. So we're doing something else that will be a surprise. But then it got me down this whole path. I went down this whole path of decoupage. So I'm going to decoupage vases. And
Is that like
Wait, so what?
inlaying? Yeah, what is it? Is it
Yeah,
like
I was so quick to say,
lace?
it's called. Here's how you pronounce it. It's decoupage.
yeah, you know what it's called and how it's pronounced, but you don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is.
This is The Naturalist. In every episode, we're covering the products, ideas, and trends that are shaping the CPG industry.
Or that we just really like.
So it's when you get like tissue paper and magazine cutouts and then you like glue it onto different objects and it creates this like beautiful, glossy, artistic thing. And you can do it on anything. So I want to do it on vases. You could do it on bookends. You could do it on just like a flat surface. You can do it on whatever you want, but I'm really excited to do it. And then that took me down a path of researching like non-toxic paints and non-toxic glues and non-toxic crafting items of all kinds. So that's what I was doing this morning before work started.
Oh, that's good. And then next you'll be asking that NBJ start tracking the market for non-toxic glues.
Yes, can you do that?
Yeah. We'll work on it. We'll give it a shot. So if that sounds awesome, we're not doing that at NBJ Summit. But if that sounds scary or too weird, hey, good news. We're not doing that.
Well, and you would actually scared me even more when you said that. But of course, you did say crafting. Is I always confuse decoupage with décolletage. Isn't that like cleavage? So I was like, where's she going with that?
That's right, yeah.
That would have taken a turn.
Let's bring it back. Let's talk about NBJ Summit, you guys.
No, it's interesting because we mentioned the word vacations. I'm just coming off of a vacation, I was at a yoga festival, and it had me thinking about this executive wellness retreat too, because a yoga festival, it's wellness, obviously, right? But it's not like just going to yoga class, which is what I do here at home, but you're in this community of people, like-minded people seeking something, like doing the same thing. And I think that's a lot of the beauty of what I just experienced at this festival up in Telluride, is that it was like, there's something about that sense of community and being in that space. And so that did remind me of what we're hoping to do on that Thursday, the closing day of NBJ Summit, what Jessica mentioned, the Executive Wellness Experience. Is that what we landed on as the name?
Yes.
And yeah, it's going to be like-minded people. It's going to be executives in the industry. It's going to be people thinking about health and their own health and wellness, and that's what we're trying to deliver on. Is like, hey, let's take care of you also while you're here. But there will be education within that experience. I think it stands to be very cool.
So I have a question, Bill, and that was really nicely put. But as someone who's never attended NBJ Summit, nor have I ever attended a yoga festival, I wanted to ask you, how is a yoga festival different from a yoga class? But I'm actually going to change that to, how is NBJ Summit different from like an Expo West or a Newtopia Now or another event?
Yeah, boy. And I bet Jessica has a lot to say about that too, but you asked me, so I will go first. It's such a unique experience. I mean, Expo is an amazing experience, right? And Newtopia Now and Expo East that we used to all love, and the cities that those take us to and those experiences. There's a lot of similarities because it's community. It's the community coming together and doing this thing. But what really sets NBJ Summit aside from those is the size. It's fewer than 500 people. It's about 400 people. So it's not counted in the tens of thousands. It's counted in the hundreds, and only 4 of them. And it's a single track. It's conference. There's no trade show. It's a conference, and it's a single track. We literally have breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, and then go into the one conference room. There's no, oh, should I go to this thing in this room or this thing in this room? Or maybe I'll leave that early and jump over to this one. No, we're in there all together all day long. There's a networking room. There are options. There's not a choice between conference sessions, but there's a choice between going into the networking room or having a breakfast meeting with other executives in the industry. So it's very much a networking event too. So I think that's the key difference. It's like we all come together on Monday evening, and we're all together until Thursday afternoon.
And yes, very well put, Bill. I think you summed it up beautifully. And it's all for the dietary supplement and nutrition industry. And so it's one part of the CPG space that we serve. But I think that's really relevant to NBJ Summit, because then it enables this community to come together and identify shared goals and opportunities. And the entire conference and summit is dedicated to how do we elevate this industry? How do we make the most of opportunities? How do we continue to raise the bar? And so the fact that it represents a more focused part of this industry that we serve and exist in, it, I think, enables these really deep conversations that can help take some of these things a step further. So that's one of the things I really love about it too. It's actually interesting for all of our events. I just got done writing something about what is a trade show. And as Bill noted, this is not a trade show. There's no selling at the NBJ Summit. There's no booths. So that automatically takes out. But for all of our events, I think we're really looking at that. Like, what is a trade show and why do people want to come together? And whether it's at Expo West, Newtopia, NBJ Summit, NCN, I really think that what's inspiring and motivating people to come together is that idea of community more than anything else. And when you can do business in the context of that, great. But I think this push towards real community and experiential activations is what gets people excited. And NBJ is all about that.
And even drilling down even more, it's a pretty exclusive event in that it's not just dietary supplements like you've narrowed it to, but we do our best. It's invite only, not just anyone can go register, because we really want to keep it a high executive event. We're looking for people with C's in their titles. And because that community communicates differently than other, when you get middle management in there and all the, incredibly important roles that actually make things happen on a daily basis. But that staying at that executive level, the conversations are different. And these folks are really talking about partnerships and ways to move forward and move the industry forward, as opposed to just, buying and selling. I shouldn't say just buying and selling. We hope that Expo's not just buying and selling either. But
So, Bill, I can imagine that my invite is in the mail then.
Yes. Yeah. It's probably, I'm surprised you haven't seen it yet. What we do is we have a registration page, and then, we review who's registered, and we extend the invite based on that. Or in some cases, we just organically invite people that we really want to be there. We want leaders from key dietary supplement companies, but also emerging ones, new brands, and get them in the same room with these bigger legacy brands.
I have to drop like a little tiny teaser of something that I have not shared with anyone outside of like internal. I haven't shared this with our community.
Outside of our 150 person team.
Yeah. But for those who are listening are like, that sounds interesting, but I'm not in the supplement industry or the nutrition industry. We are doing something at Expo West next year. At NBJ Summit, we have a CEO dinner. So while, most people in the room have C in their titles, as Bill mentioned, we have something that's even more focused on CEOs, getting them together. We're going to have a CEO dinner at Expo West.
Ooh.
and that'll be on Monday night. And so we want to bring some of those experiences of the summit to Expo West as well, because I do think it's really important. Like when people are in the room with peers, the magic that can come from that and the transformation that can come from that. We'll talk more about transformation because that is the theme of the summit, but it's really, really powerful. So at all of our events, figuring out how do we get people with their peers and having these important conversations. So more to come on that. Was that a good drop? Well,
yeah, but, no, I did, yeah, and I don't think I had heard that. So
I hadn't either, actually.
So yeah,
is that going to be for dietary supplement leaders or
no,
all
for food and beverage, beauty, supplements, the entire CPG industry?
Well, so NBJ Summit is at the end of July, correct?
Yes.
In California,
coming up,
coming in
hot.
And can people still register?
Well, it's so close, and then by the time this airs, maybe not. But there's virtual, and the virtual summit, you lose a lot of that networking on-site experience. But all the content coming from the stage, it can be accessed through the virtual registration, and that's wide open all the way up until it happens, and is open to all levels of industry too. So if you're feeling snubbed by the C-level exclusivity of all of this, you can sign up for the virtual.
Virtual's still open.
Yeah, right. You can.
If my invitation got lost in the mail,
if it gets lost in the mail,
even you can go, Adrian. All right. So, what are some of the highlights of the conference this year, the summit?
Oh, so many. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to just being able to dig into this theme of transformation. We've had, some interesting recent years in the supplement industry. There's obviously this big boom during the pandemic. And what did that mean? And then yet last year we celebrated 30 years of Deshay. And this year just felt like the right year to really look at what's next and these forces that are truly shaping how we do business in supplements. Consumers are changing. Awareness is peaking of dietary supplements and holistic health solutions. And so now's the time to say, how can the supplement industry, and Bill, actually, I'm going to quote you. Bill has said, how do we make the most of this opportunity without being opportunistic? And I really like that way of looking at it and thinking about all the different aspects of transformation that will ultimately affect consumers and their access to health solutions. And I think that that's really inspiring and something that overall I'm excited about for the summit. The theme, I think, is just a great one this year. What about you, Bill?
Yeah, no, I agree. And we've kind of broken it down by like why to transform and how to transform. And we're taking that into a look at what's going on in the highest levels of government right now. And that's, I think, where we're really looking at what an opportunity it is. It's sort of like that, may you live in interesting times. Wherever you land on the political spectrum, I think we can agree that these are very interesting times. And in the supplement industry in particular, there is a lot of opportunity. So how do we take that opportunity without being opportunistic? And how do we, and so looking at that high level of government, we're looking at what do we think might happen? We've got Callie Means coming in as a keynote speaker. Callie is very close to RFK, very close to Donald Trump. Introduced the two men, and Callie's going to be doing a talk and then a conversation with our co-chair. Jessica and I are co-chairs. I don't know if we said that. We're co-chairing the summit with Tom Arts. Tom and Callie are going to have a conversation from the stage. And around that, we're going to have regulatory discussions. We're going to have, I'm going to lead a panel discussion about the transformation of healthcare in the U.S. We're going to have, medical doctors on stage talking about what is the opportunity there? How do we shift the way we think about sort of sick care and move into well care and all of that? So that's part of what I'm excited about. I would kind of start big. That's Tuesday morning, and then we drill down into like a little closer into our industry with a lot of what we do.
And we're bringing a lot of retailers to the stage too. So the makeup of the summit is across the entire industry. So we have suppliers and contract manufacturers and then finished goods products and companies, people on the regulatory side. So definitely representing the whole ecosystem in the supplement and nutrition world. But a big part of that is the retailers, and they're the ones that are reaching the consumers. And so to have a whole section on retail transformation, we'll have Amazon there, TikTok, Whole Foods, and Nutrition World, all showing kind of the different parts of the retail story and what this means for companies doing business. What should leaders be thinking about as they navigate this omni-channel world, and knowing that consumers are discovering health products in all different ways and all different places, and the channels in which these sales are happening in are really important for people in the room to be paying attention to know how to navigate this very complex but also energized space of consumer demand for these products. So having a strong retail piece this year, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about transformation, the way people are purchasing products is so different than it was 5 years ago. It's just like TikTok as an entity, as a force to be reckoned with in shopping. No one, I think, saw that. Well, I didn't see that coming a few years ago, So
a coworker of ours, Gina, she sends me TikToks all the time, and I'm not on TikTok, and she always is like, I can't remember if you're on TikTok or not. And I'm like, I'm not, okay? I'm not. But everyone now is on TikTok from a brand perspective. But what I think is really important to note is that brick and mortar retail is not dead by any stretch of the imagination, and consumers are actually returning to in-store shopping as well.
I was going to say, Jessica, it's because you're too young to be on TikTok, and it's a funny thing to say, but at NBJ we did a survey a few months back, and we asked consumers where they buy their stuff: natural retailer, big box retailer, club, grocery store, and more Gen Xers than any other generation said TikTok. I'm like, I'm a Gen Xer. I'm like, what? I'm not on TikTok, and the
Gen Z going into
the store. I love the store.
Yeah. Well, and then I remember that data point from that survey, which I love, Bill, which was that 44% of millennials shop primarily at natural chains for food and beverage. So all those generations, man, can't keep up.
You can't keep up, and you can't make assumptions. And that's really important. You can't make assumptions as a brand or as a retailer of what your customer is wanting, where they're buying. And I'm also seeing that brands are, digitally native brands are now leaning into retail, but are finding that balance. Legacy companies, even though I've been told not to call one company in particular legacy, but it's fine. I like Lego. What's wrong with Legacy?
I think it's a super huge compliment.
I
love it.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But
whoever told you that, they're just old.
What was that, Bill?
Whoever told you that is old. They're just like, don't call me Legacy.
But legacy companies are reimagining their strategies and entering into the TikTok space. So it's all over the place. And we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about...
It's great. And that whole thing, like having TikTok and Amazon and a leading, natural like independent retailer and Whole Foods, all of those folks flowing through, I don't know how long that session is. It's a sturdy little
hour
session. Hour and a half of, and Jessica's
retail magic
running that conversation. No one better than Jessica to do it. So it'll be exciting to hear those conversations.
And we also I wanted to talk about biohacking a little bit, because I think there's a lot of like blurred lines between. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for that nice. Like now on to the next one. Yeah. I got uncomfortable.
I just side chatted her. I was like, "Are you going to say thank you?" That explains the delay.
There's a lot of blurring of lines, right? There's blurring of lines between digital and brick and mortar retail, blurring of lines between pharmaceutical and natural products. And then I think biohacking represents a piece of that I'm just intrigued by. The founder of NBJ Summit and our fellow co-chair, Tom Arts, is really into biohacking. Sometimes he'll take calls from like his red light sauna in the downstairs of his house. But he's really embracing a lot of these modalities. I was at Barnes & Noble the other day too, and there's so many books on longevity and basically this positioning of like aging is optional. Like don't have to age in the traditional sense. And now there's all these things available that I think are just creating a fascinating environment. Phil, what do you think about that? And what are you seeing from NBJ perspective on biohacking?
It's an interesting one. One of the things that I always, like so many other things, it's a term that screams for a definition. We did some searching. We did a longevity report. I think we called it, or maybe we called it healthy aging. We call the category healthy aging in our conditions model. And we wanted to get clear on what do we mean when we say biohacking, because we saw things online from a prominent influencer doctor, for instance, saying, things like meditation and yoga. And I'm like, I don't know, are those biohacking, right? And because you've got cold plunging, and then you've got way more involved therapies and addressing the microbiome in a deep way. And so first of all, what is it? But I think it is some way of interrupting that aging process. And so then there's all these modalities like infrared saunas and red light therapies. And some of them are pretty weird, and some of them are pretty normal, and so it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to see.
And it connects, right? It is fun to see, and it connects to the supplement industry, because I think in some NBJ research, and we presented this at State of Natural, consumers say that supplements are the number one biohacking tool that they turn to. So to your point, thinking about things like meditation and supplements in addition to the high-tech things. But when I think about biohacking, it's really making these incremental changes and incorporating health products and services and practices that are going to be measurable and that consumers can personalize to what they need and track results and make those adjustments. And the fact that all these things are available, and we have Lifetime Fitness on one of your, or they're not fitness anymore. They dropped.
They're right. They're just Lifetime, right? Yeah.
Because they're like, it's about so much more than fitness, but they're incorporating all of these things into their locations to say, hey, consumers, hey, clients of Lifetime, we're going to make all these things available to you. So,
yeah.
Well, I certainly think it's interesting when you think about the cyclical nature of these things, because, first it was like aging is horrible or disgusting, or like, oh, people are terrible. Then it's like, no, embrace your aging, like healthy aging, like let your hair go gray, and now it's like, actually, you don't need to age at all. It's totally optional. So,
well, there's quite a debate in there, and I'm and encouraging NBJ to just take this tack too. We're sticking to healthy aging as the term, because that's really what it's about. It's about aging. Well, aging's going to happen. Time does go by. No one's figured that out yet. So how do you do that in a healthy way? And the really popular term these days is longevity, which is a nice term, but that just means living longer. And I think our emphasis, and the industry's emphasis, is living healthy longer, right? So,
and that health and peace. And I agree. I mean, there's extremes around all of this. And at the summit, we're able to talk about some of those things that are more on the cutting edge of these discussions around biohacking, but also grounded in real science. We'll have discussions around brain health and gut health, and really where research is going and where science around ingredients and technologies, where all of that is heading, because those are the things that will create this proven and validated foundation for the supplement industry. So it's a nice space to kind of talk about those things that feel far out, and then those things that feel very rooted in just a practical approach to moving healthier longer.
And you used the word measurable earlier, and I agree with you. I think that's a really important term to throw into the biohacking movement, right? And so wearables are just such an important part. I don't have one. I'm not wearing one, but it's interesting. It's just more and more popular to have a ring or a watch that tells you how you're sleeping, or like keeping those. I know I sleep poorly. I don't need a ring to tell me.
Well, I was just laughing because I was thinking about talking about TikTok, and we're like, but none of us are on TikTok talking about wearables, but none of us have wearables. Yeah. Well, this has certainly been fascinating. I mean, I can't wait to hear more about what comes out of NBJ Summit. I will be watching online.
I wish
sounds
you
like
all
a great
could come. Even you, Adrian. I wish everyone could come. It's such a fun event. It's at a beautiful resort on the coast, some cliffs overlooking the ocean. It's really beautiful. There's golf on Monday, but I don't golf.
Right.
There you go, Adrian. You could add that to the list. But it's really a beautiful event, and the content on stage is fantastic. It's I'm really proud of the team and what we put together for that. So for the virtual, you're missing some of the on-site beauty, but that content is still available.
And I don't think you mentioned this, but before we wrap up, I did just want to give a nod, more than a nod, really recognize the work that NBJ is doing and how that's connected to NBJ Summit. So Nutrition Business Journal, we often have Bill or Erica on the podcast to talk about market sizing and the numbers that show what's happening in the supplement industry and expanding into other parts of our industry as well. That all that content comes to life on the NBJ Summit stage. So the state of the industry presentation that Bill and Erica will do really is here's what's happening in dietary supplements and why and what to make of it. So these two things that we often talk about, NBJ and NBJ Summit, are very much related and are all meant to fuel business and responsible business and growth of the supplement space.
Yeah, thanks for making that link. I mean, it's important. And I always say, hey, the J stands for journal. We have our monthly journal, we have our reports, and we produce these numbers. And we're presenting them a couple of little snippets throughout the programming too, to set up your discussion on retail. You and Erica are going to present some of our retail data as well. So, it is, I feel blessed to be tied to this product that is NBJ's data, because it's really valuable to the industry.
Well, thanks for being here, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Fun to see you.
Adrian's just going to keep trying to wrap up. And
Right. You know what else is cool?
I don't want to get in trouble with Maddie.
I feel like I hope this episode didn't end up being like me listening to people talking about like something I know nothing about, like Dungeons and Dragons or something.
We should do a Dungeons and Dragons episode.
We should.